Okay, what's up? I hope I can do this video without having my camera die. Yeah, I went to there's this lounge bar place that do live music. I was just really bored, so I fucking decided I'd see who was playing. And you know how if you go to some bars, if you're under 21, you know they put the X on your hand. What's with the two X's? Now I got two permanent marker X's on my fucking hands. Wouldn't one X on one hand, you know, suffice? Wouldn't that be good enough? You know, or just ask me for my goddamn ID. I don't want any alcohol there anyway. I wouldn't even try. It's just still, come on, two X's, one X. All I want is one. I mean, if you're worried about somebody washing it off, they can wash off two. I mean, what a bitch. Oh well, I don't know. The bands are alright. The second one was kind of, dude took himself too seriously, but, so I talk about, I already made this video before. I thought it was too long, so I'm going to try to make it a little bit shorter. I want to talk about this Nazi thing that's going on with, Richard Coughlin and some Nazi kids. So basically, I'm talking to this kid, you know, any other, and just about Nazism. All right, so whatever. That's what's going on. All right, let me be perfectly frank and upfront. I went through a Nazi phase, I guess you could call it. It wasn't a racism thing, because I'm not really a racist. Everyone's a little tiny bit racist, but you know what I'm fucking saying. You can tell by the videos I've made that I'm obviously not a fucking racist, but it wasn't a racism thing. It was more of this interest in the idea of being able to fix all the world's problems really quick. You know, that's the appeal of a totalitarianist worldview, because that's what you're trying to do. Most of these people start off with good intentions, for the most part. But I realized over time that I couldn't reconcile my other beliefs with a totalitarian view on government, because I'm not a racist, and you can't separate racism or some sort of bigotry from a totalitarian government. There has to be a scapegoat group. Some group has to be persecuted in order to make the totalitarian government work. You cannot separate fascism or any other totalitarian government like Stalin's communism from some sort of bigotry. All right, and I couldn't make that separation philosophically. I couldn't work. Also, it's difficult to separate religion, especially from Nazism, because Christians are always like, see, Hitler was an atheist. That proves it. No, Hitler was not an atheist. Nazi fascists use religion to support the state. That's why he you know, obviously didn't use Judaism, but he reached out to Christian religions, and he used Nordic myths and shit like that to help, you know, to support the state. No, but Stalin, on the other hand, took an atheist perspective, not for the reason that Christians think, because he was an atheist. See, he was no. The reason that Stalin was an atheist is because communists see religion as a threat to the state. They don't view it the same way. But still, it's rejected or embraced based on its usefulness to the state. You know, and I was an atheist for a while, and I couldn't reconcile that with fascism. So that's another one. And also, there's no way to achieve, because my whole idea was I could force equality on people with a fascist society. I could force people, you know, I could implement laws to give people freedom, real freedom of speech, and real everything, and blah, 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 thinking it was very noble. But then I realized that there's no way you could maintain a totalitarian government without the ability to strip people's rights. And if you have the ability to strip an individual's rights, then they have no rights. And you have to have some sort of censorship, and it has to be complete, and you have to have the ability to do whatever you want whenever you need to do it. So those three things, I realized I couldn't, you know, work them out. So I took a almost a complete opposite view, you know, a libertarian constitutionalist type thing. And see, I think this one works better. So I want to talk about this kid, and I want to talk about Nazis. Now, I don't know how old this kid is, but he doesn't look very old. He might be as old as me, but I don't think he is. I'm 19, going to be 20 in April. I think he looks like he's 15 or 16. Either that or he talks like he's 15 or 16. And, you know, I'm not trying to hate on teenagers because I know a lot of you watch my shit. But, you know, and I can say this with some degree of legitimacy because I feel that I am slightly smarter than the majority, and have always been a little bit more mature than my age. You know, you don't understand fully what you're getting into, especially when it comes to philosophies. You know, and this kid, I guarantee you, doesn't understand anything about National Socialism. I submit to you right now that this kid and most, quote, Nazis in the United States, Britain, Germany, and Russia, and elsewhere are not Nazis. They don't know anything about how a fascist society works. They don't know anything about National Socialism. They're taking up a political ideology as a moniker when they're really not for a political ideology. The reason that people nowadays become neo-Nazis is for one or all of several reasons. You get an instant pride thing when you go with this white power deal. You know, people like things like that. They get an instant feeling of pride, and it's really weird because it's something they should have no reason to be prideful for because they didn't do anything. But the idea that they can just walk in and the fact that they are white gives them pride. The same thing as the black power, you know, the radical black power movement. It's the same unjustified pride, and that attracts people. Mostly dumb people, but still, it attracts people, young people, so there's that. There's a huge rebellion aspect to this, obviously. I mean, that's one of the most out there things you can fucking do. Nothing is going to shock your family and your friends and the people, the teachers, whatever, more than, you know, being a Nazi. Even the gay kid, you know, doesn't get, you know, fucked with as much as the Nazi does, alright? So there's that. So it's a rebellion thing. It's he wants this pride. He wants to feel like he belongs to something. But what these quote Nazis need to understand is that in order to be a fascist, you have to give up viewing people as anything other than tools for the betterment of the state, which is another reason I couldn't, you know, work with the philosophy. You know, so Deathsshead, in order to fully be a Nazi, you have to come to the point where you do not care about anyone else but yourself, and come to the realization that you're going to have to live your whole life with nobody caring about you. And it's obvious that you're not at that point yet because of your whole thing with your girlfriend or whatever. So you know, you need to understand that shit. You're not there yet. Also, kids are attracted, young men especially, to symbols. And you know, say what you want about Nazis, but they use symbolism and propaganda very, very well. It does look attractive. It looks powerful. It looks intriguing. You know, you watch one of their parades in Nuremberg, you know, the propaganda film, some shit like that. This shit is impressive, okay? You know, they got cool uniforms, they got badass symbols and shit like that. You know, everyone is marching perfectly in line. It's impressive. And things like that really attract young men. So there's that aspect to it. And there's also this racism aspect. Now, I guarantee you, and I don't remember if this kid said if he hated anybody. I know he hates gays. I don't know if he said anything about blacks or Jews or whatever. But I guarantee you several things. I'm gonna bet that he was raised in a small town. I don't know. I might be wrong, but I'm just gonna guess that. So he has very little exposure to other cultures and shit like that. He's never met a gay person. He's never talked to a gay person at all. All he knows about gay people is propaganda that he gets and the shit he sees on TV, which is the worst type of, you know, the worst sort of stereotype, which, frankly, even I don't understand why anybody would hate that. But, you know, so the only gays he's familiar with is the stereotypical flaming queen type person they put on TV. And again, I don't understand why anybody would hate that. It might be slightly annoying, but there's lots of shit that's slightly annoying, you know, asked to have their rights taken away. Anyway, so he doesn't have any experience with any other cultures. So I'd recommend that he goes out and fucking experiences some other shit. And, you know, I guarantee you, I'm not going to pass judgment on how smart or dumb this kid is yet. because he's young, and he's in this ideology for the wrong reasons. He doesn't fully understand what he's gotten into yet. He doesn't realize how wrong he is. You know, if you see a 35-year-old or whatever who is still doing the Nazi thing, the dude's an idiot, and he's also a douche. You know, he's either an idiot or he's at least smart enough to understand what he got himself into. He's wrong, but you know, whatever. So I propose that this kid doesn't know anything about what he's actually talking about. But I'm trying to be, you know, fairly honest with this kid, and I hope he sees this video at some point. And anybody else who's thinking along similar lines of him, as him, you know, you're wrong. Okay. I know your reasons for wanting to be a Nazi or whatever. Okay, I understand it. You know, it doesn't make it right, but still, you're wrong. Go out and meet new people and whatever, and realize that shit really isn't as simple as you would like it to be, and you can't fix all the world's problems all at once. I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen. With any system, you can't fix all the world's problems at once. You know, we make that mistake with different shit. You know, all these people that are like, oh my god, Obama's gonna fix everything today. No, they're not. Okay? It just doesn't happen that way. So, fucking, you know, go out and experience some new shit, and, you know, actually read up and try to learn what National Socialism is, because I guarantee you that this kid doesn't know anything about it, which is kind of insulting that he would, you know, Deathsshead kid, alright, you wouldn't be able to get into the Hitler Youth, okay? You wouldn't make it as an SS officer. You'd be a reject. You don't understand anything about the politics. You probably don't understand anything about racial science, which is, you know, one of the most terrible aspects of Nazism, but still, it's a main part of it. I guarantee you don't understand any of that. And also, I can pretty much guarantee that you couldn't prove your Aryan heritage anyway. So why you'd want to take on a Nazi moniker, I have no idea. I'm 80% German. I probably, well, I don't know. If I had been in the party when it began, I might have been able to be in the SS, but when they started picking out, you know, people, new recruits, you wouldn't make it into the fucking SS. You're not racially pure, so why are you trying to take on a racial science attitude towards the world? I just guarantee it. And, you know, there's obviously nothing wrong with that, but I'm trying to speak about the actual ideology you're dealing with here. You would be a reject. Hitler would want nothing to do with you. You know, all of them. You would not be allowed into the inner circle of the party anyway. Hitler lost for, you know, many reasons, but it was basically that, you know, he lost sight of the big picture, and the big picture is you can't do everything you want just because you want to do it. And that's what you need to understand. You can't fix all the world's problems, and shit is almost always far more complicated than it appears. So I recommend you go experience new cultures, you read up on different political philosophies, and, you know, I recommend that you give yourself a couple years before you try to pick one. You know, and realize that, you know, nobody is as smart as they think they are. I'm not as smart as I think I am. I guarantee you I'm smarter than you. But still, you're not as smart as you think you are, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. There isn't, but you have to be willing to recognize it. That's when you have a problem. When you think you're smarter than you really are and you can't admit it, that's when you have an issue. But if you can come to the realization that you don't know everything about everything, come to the realization that you do need people, and you're not going to be able to separate yourself from them, come to the realization that racism is almost always baseless. Well, it is always baseless, but usually people can't even come with any good reasons at all. So fucking do all of these things. I hope you see this video. Richard's being kind of hard on you, but you know what? That's good. Because at first I wanted to be like, hey Richard, you should back off this kid because, like, he doesn't know what he's gotten into yet. But it's a good lesson because this is the kind of reception you're going to get. This is the reason that the Nazi parties in the United States can't get anywhere, because they don't know what they're doing. They can't. That's another reason why they're not Nazis, because you can't propagandize right. You can't just come out and fucking say, I hate Jews and faggots and niggers and all this shit. You can't do that, okay? You don't understand anything about the ideology, so stop pretending to belong to it, okay? It's just like people who pretend to be communists and don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Or, you know, any other ideology they want to cling to, okay? It's a young, stupid, it's a youth thing, alright? Get over it. But seriously, I'm trying to be as kind to you as possible, and I'm trying to be fucking real with you. Go out and experience some new shit. So, that's fucking Chris talking about Nazis. See ya.